Were you a gamer when you got asked to play Master Chief in Halo?
No. I mean, I played video games in my teen years. I never had I had one system. I had the original Nintendo with the 3-pack.
Nintendo.
You know,
I had the original
Mario Brothers, Duck Hunt, and World Class Track and Field, all in one package.
World Class Tecmo Bowl. You didn't have Tecmo Bowl?
I got Tecmo Bowl, but that was a separate game. I'm saying that the original package I got was all 3 games on one
system.
On one cassette or whatever it was.
Okay. Okay.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Gotcha.
There was a 2-pack and there was a 3-pack. I had the 3-pack. It was with the
I had the 2.
And they had the pad where you could, instead of running on it with your feet, you do it with your hands, so you could jump like this. And you jump forever. And then you go. Anyway, that was the only game system I ever had, and I got rid of that pretty quick. I think my parents threw it out or something. So if I wanted to play video games, I'd have to go to my friends' houses, and that's where I first encountered Halo. Played it a little bit. Played as Master Chief, obviously. But never got like deep into it, and then didn't play games really through all my 20s or 30s. And then when I got the job, it was about refreshing my memory of what that was like to play Halo when I was in my early 20s, and then really diving into the lore, right? I went up to Seattle, and 343 is the company that makes the games.
How was that, dude? That's like a museum.
Cool.
How was that?
It is.
Was that
It's
cool
literally, they have a museum up there, the Halo Museum. It was very cool. Getting to walk around, see all the stuff in the museum. They were actually building Halo Infinite at the time, because this is now 5 years ago when we started this project.
It's a long time.
So
Wow.
I got to see them making the game and all the behind the scenes stuff. And then they gave me like their boot camp, which is just like a massive introduction to the whole Halo universe, right? So, and for me, the thing that drew me into it, the video game is the video game, right? And when you're making a TV show, you're actually competing with the video game in a way. You're not necessarily like trying to make it exactly like the video game, because you don't want to repeat what's there, but you want to make it faithful enough that people feel nostalgic in the experience, but you also want to add to the experience. You want to do something that's new and different, and bring something new to the franchise or to the game, not just recreate the experience of playing the video game. And so for me, the entrance point was the mythology and the lore. You know, what they have established over scads of media, right, through the novels and through the graphic novels and all that. There's just so much amazing storytelling in the franchise, and that's where I got hooked and fell in love with it.
And I can imagine like the fan base for video games too. They want to make sure you're getting everything right. Just like playing 13 hours, you got to get the terminology right. You got to get the guns right and all that.
You got to get the tactical movement tech, and you guys did. There's a few. Believe me, there are a few scenes in there where, why did Dominic do that? But I'm only seeing it. You did excellent, bro. I believe I was looking, but that's what I was on the Halo. I was going to ask you on that, and I know you've been asked this before, and so I'm not going to. Forgive me, but the hard-nosed Halo guys, the ones that used to play, I mean, was it hard? Because there's some of them you probably, especially on the first episode where you take your helmet off, are like, oh my gosh, he did that. Should he have done that? I was thinking, Hannah, I love Pablo, but should he have done that first episode? Because did you lose any of the hardcore people? Because they're worse than some of us military guys as far as seeing stuff. Yeah,
no, the Halo fan base is huge. 50 million games sold, I think, or something like that at this point. So you're dealing with a massive group of people. So
and all ages too.
All ages, and every single Halo fan has a different opinion, right? About how it should be portrayed. So there is not one group. You can't say like the Halo fans, right? There's people that want certain things and people that want other things. And you have, with a franchise this size, you have to realize, first of all, you're not going to please everybody. Everybody's not going to be on board, right? There's always going to be a certain amount of people that are just not going to come along for the ride. I think one of the really difficult things, I've been thinking about this a lot because obviously it's, what I've been doing for the last 5 years. I think one of the hardest things about this was that when you play the video game, you play as Master Chief, right? And the character is a kind of blank slate that is created that way in order for you to feel like you're him. You put elements of your personality onto the character.
That's
right?
cool, yeah.
So you fill in all of these. He's not really fleshed out because they want you to put your personality onto him to feel like you're the guy, so you can feel like a hero. Right? That's the experience of the video game. Now, if you can imagine, everybody who's ever played the video game feels
a little bit themselves,
like they're Master Chief, and they have an ownership over that character. Where if no matter what, no matter who took the helmet off, right? The first reaction was going to be, without even really realizing that was a reaction, no. Right?
Yeah.
You're not him. It's me.
That's what I felt. Like,
if you're him, I can't be him. Right? So that was always going to be part of the process. And I knew that from the beginning. And that's all good, man. But without taking the helmet off in the first episode, which is, the decision that was made for the job that I got hired for, without doing that, you can't tell the story that they wanted to tell, that they hired me for, which is telling the dual story of Master Chief and this guy, John, who's trapped in this suit and has been for all of his life and begins to experience for the first time his own humanity and begins to question what he's responsible for in terms of protecting the human race and which parts of himself are his own, right? What's his duty and what's his which parts of himself are his own, right? Yeah. And you can't tell that story without taking the helmet off, without taking all the armor off, without like knowing the guy who's under there, right? And so that's the story that I was hired to tell, and it's the one that I threw myself into. And the rest of it is it just is what it is, I think the great news in terms of your question is that we're 94% on Rotten Tomatoes for the second season. Right?
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, critics, and I'm saying like the fans as critics are always going to be, they want something like unique to you, and
But even in general, I would say the narrative from the Halo fans, right? There was a narrative that the Halo fans didn't like him taking the helmet off. Again, that was
proven wrong.
That was a poor.
Yeah,
a lot of people have come back. That were unconvinced about the first season. The second season has convinced a lot of people that were unconvinced. And for me, that's the biggest thing is that I just want the show to be better. Period. And even for me, second season, it's not exactly the show I want to make. I always want better. I always want better. We can always do better, right? So for me, I'm always, every day I go to work trying to figure out how I can make what I'm in better than it is, right? And I'm happy to know that we're progressing and moving in a direction that people are happy with and that people are responding to. And that's all I can do.
That's
awesome.
That's your work ethic, buddy. Yeah, that's your work ethic. That's why you're a great Tonto, or I'm a great Pablo. I don't know. How do you want to look at it?
You are a great Pablo.
I'm a great Pablo. I'm just 2 feet shorter and 100 pounds lighter, and that's because I'm skinny and Pablo's strong. I'm not gonna. You're not fat, dude. You're ripped. You're jacked.
Listen, I like.
I seen you with your shirt off.
That's
but yeah, I did. I when you said that, when you were taking, I was like, no, don't take the helmet off on the first. But it was easy for me because when it came off, I saw you.
Yeah, you're like, oh yeah, I am Master Chief.
I was like, oh,
yeah, look at that.
Look at Tano, Master Chief.
You're literally the one person in the world that it didn't have that effect on. You're like, oh yeah, that's right. Yep. It's my alter ego from 13 Hours. I knew it. It is me.
But you're right though. You did because after the second and third was like, okay, that's making sense. Let's get back into it. And the second episode of the first season, I do think you've made it better. You're gonna. I haven't seen the rest. Just seen that first, but that first episode was, dude, it was killer. How do you do those? Those war scenes are epic. They're fantastic, man. How do you do that with all the CGI and shit? How do you make it? Or are you don't look like you're getting CGI'd. It looks like you're doing the actual physical stuff.
Yeah, no,
what are you doing? How do you do that? You have a crane sweeping the energy sword? I mean, what's going on? Are you doing the ducks? And it's like, okay, duck now, and you drop to a knee, or
there's a lot of
what's
CGI,
going on?
a lot of CGI that happens. The biggest shift from season 1 to season 2, I'll give credit to, the most important thing in movies and TV is writing, right? Material is the most important thing. So there's a new showrunner for the second season. His name's David Weiner, and he came in with a real clear point of view. And the first thing he said to me when he showed up is that he wanted to make an 8-episode war movie. And for me, when you're making Halo, that's what it should be, right? The stakes should be, it should be real. It should feel dangerous. It should feel dark. It should feel impactful, and like there's real stakes involved. So, in this season, we're telling the story of the fall of Reach, which is, one of the huge, moments in Halo lore. You're just from telling the story from a much more subjective point of view. You're in it with the soldiers. You're seeing all those things I was talking about. You're seeing the cost of what it means to be a hero. You're seeing the cost of war on our society in general. Yeah. All of these larger themes start to resonate because you're actually in it, with the guys. And so the logistics of shooting it, one of the biggest changes for us was in shooting the action was being more subjective, which meant having your cameras in the action, a lot of handheld, right? Where the camera's right there, a lot of fog in the background, so you can't quite see everything. That fog of war stuff is so powerful, right? The enemy that you can't see, you don't know where it's coming from. A lot of the same things from 13 Hours, right? And really just shooting those action scenes in a way that feels more subjective and feels like you're in the battle. And you were saying the ducking or the CGI and all that stuff. There's actually I think this is going to be released after the 4th episode. Well,
this will be up Tuesday.
This will be up Tuesday?
Tuesday.
Okay, great. Well, tomorrow, actually, we're the week before that now. And in our reality, tomorrow, the 4th episode airs. This will have already aired by the time this comes out. And so in the 4th episode, that is the fall of Reach. And we actually get surprised. The Spartans don't have their armor, and the Covenant is there on Reach. And so Chief has to fight his way across the city of Reach without the armor, right? So there's this one scene where he takes on a Singhali warrior in a knife fight, a close quarters knife fight with no armor. It's this fucking amazing scene. You're going to love it. It's like all a oneer where it feels like it's all happening. There's no cuts or whatever. And you go through the city of Reach right into this battle, close quarters knife fight. Now, to do those, you're using the stunt guys who are on stilts, like 2 or 3 foot stilts to make a Singhali, right? And so I would do a couple of takes with the stunt guys fighting. But the takes we actually used were at the end. They would pull the stunt guy out, and I would have to repeat the whole knife fight, which is like a 2 or 3 minute knife fight with nobody on the other side of it, right? But muscle memory, knowing all the moves, blah, 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 blah. So that was just a little anecdote to your point of, CGI. So that when you see the knife fight in episode 4 with the Singhali, that's me fighting air and them building an alien to fight with me after the fact, which is nuts.
I don't know how you do that. I'd go nuts. Yeah, I can't do it.
It's not our job, thankfully. Our job is to remember the fight, swing a knife, and look cool, right?
That's still pretty cool, though.
We do that part, and then they build, like the VFX guys, I have no idea how they do that shit.